Hi everyone, my name is Damien Siqueiros and I'm a photographer and visual artist, and I'm presenting at the moment an exhibition at the Art Gallery of Burlington. And these videos are related to the exhibition that I'm doing, and I asked the AGB team to send me a few questions that they thought it would be interesting for me to answer, and that would relate or would interest their public. So this is the third and final question, and this is about my process. And as I mentioned on the first question, I don't necessarily feel exactly like a photographer because I think I approach my work differently. I think that I feel myself more like as a visual artist. And I know that at the end, the labels are not the most important thing. But for me, my process, especially if I'm speaking about social justice or activism topic, for me it's really important to first dwell into that or to dive into that topic as much as possible. So, it can have up to 6 months or a year, or sometimes a little bit more than that of preparation and reading about the topic. And I come from an academic background, so I try to be very organized in terms of the lectures and the books that I read about it, so I can form a coherent idea about the topic before I even start working on the visuals. Once I do start to work on the visuals, of course, a lot of images come to mind when I'm reading the book, so I can take notes, I can do sketching. And once I start the production process, I think it's very important to cast the right people for the project. And the right people are not necessarily only visually, but also the people that have the talent to portray those characters in my work. Most of the time I choose dancers or actors or performers because I feel that the movement that they do can portray more easily and in an abstract way the topics that I want to portray. So for example, if I'm speaking about gender equality, and you're talking about the, gender wage gap, it would be maybe boring just to go and try to represent, someone giving another person a check, which, it would be like maybe completely literal. So you need to think of ways of translating that into a more abstract form or an abstract image that at the same time it's a figurative representation, but in the sense of representing a topic, it's sort of an abstract form of representing that topic. Another important part is sort of deciding the art of the art direction of the project. So for example, I start to look, okay, what would be like the best way to represent this in terms of costumes, makeup, lighting, just the way to approach visually that would better represent the mood that I'm trying to say. So for example, if there's a hopeful mood or something that it's sad, if I'm speaking about gender violence or gender discrimination, it's not necessarily gonna be a cheerful environment, or it might be just for contrast. So that takes maybe a few months, just the planning of the shooting. And once I'm ready to actually shoot, then I go into the studio and I start to create the sets. I'm not necessarily alone a lot of the time. I bring people into the process as well that can help me out, especially in the creation of the costumes. Sometimes the makeup, sometimes the sets. But I'm very involved in that process. So for a long time I've been creating things by myself, and then I have like very talented people that come and help me out. The day of the shooting, I already have designed the makeup and the costume, or again I have someone that is helping me with those things. And the painterly effect of my images is not made on Photoshop. It's made from the construction of the set, of the costumes and the makeup. The way that I do my makeup is not necessarily in a beautifying way, but in a way that makes that character look more like the character that I'm trying to portray. And it's very painterly as well. So if you see a painting, from 17th century or even 18th century, you'll see how the colors of the skin sort of change and diffract in different colors. You have blues, you have purples, you have orange, you have greens. So my makeup actually has those colors. And when I create the lighting, I make it look like it's a natural skin tone. But at the end, the effect is that it looks very painterly. For me, the relationship with my team and especially with the performance is really, really important. I don't want people to be there just to do what I say, but I want them to be an active part of what we're doing. So cooperation, collaboration is really important to me, and that communication with the model is really important. Direction, asking them to do certain movements and guiding them through the creation of the character is more important than actually telling them, do this movement or do this movement. When you see my work, you won't necessarily see like perfect poses, but you see poses in evolution, which for me it's more important because it talks about a reality of the movement rather than things just looking beautiful with no necessary added meaning. When we're finished that shooting, I sort of let the images rest for a while, and then I can start to work on them, and I decide what the post-production process is going to be. So sometimes I decide not to do much to the images. For example, the images that you're seeing at the Art Gallery of Burlington are not necessarily very retouched. A lot of them are just retouched for certain like little details on the set, some lines that shouldn't be there and stuff like that. But all the lighting and the way that the characters are positioned, it's already there. Sometimes I decide to add a little bit of a painterly effects, like smudges and stuff like that, but this is not the case. I would rather have almost everything done on the take. So sometimes it just takes me, a few minutes to do the post-production on my images. So that's it for my process. And maybe I'll come back and answer a few questions if there's more. But thank you so much for watching these videos about the exhibition at the Art Gallery of Burlington. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed the exhibition. Bye.